Michelle thought the popular girls were her true friends, but she was wrong. The real friend she needed, Nora, was the one she ignored every day. When betrayal and shame finally hit her, she discovered the truth too late. Enjoy the story. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Michelle had always dreamed of being noticed. Noticed by teachers. Noticed by students. But most of all, noticed by Maya Benson, the most popular girl in her school. Every morning Michelle stood in front of the small mirror in her mother's room. She smoothed her hair, adjusted her uniform, and whispered to herself, "Maybe today someone will see me." She was smart, quiet, and polite, but she felt like the kind of girl people only remembered when the teacher called attendance. Meanwhile, Maya shined everywhere she went. When she entered the school gate, laughter followed her. Her friends gathered around her like she was a celebrity. Teachers used her as an example. Everyone wanted to sit with her, walk with her, or simply be near her. Michelle didn't want to replace her. She just wanted to be part of her circle, to taste that feeling of belonging, of being someone important. But standing beside Michelle every single day was Nora. Nora was gentle, calm, and always there when Michelle needed her. She shared her lunch, waited for her after class, helped her understand difficult subjects, and listened to all her stories without complaining, even when those stories were about Maya. But Michelle never truly saw her. To Michelle, Nora was just the quiet girl who sat beside her. The friend she didn't appreciate, the friend she didn't brag about, the friend she didn't want people to notice too much because Michelle feared people would think she wasn't cool enough. That morning, as they walked toward their classroom, Nora smiled sweetly and held out a small food container. "I made pancakes," Nora said softly. "I wanted to share them with you at break time." Michelle forced a smile. She didn't want people to see them walking together like two lonely girls. She didn't want Maya's group to laugh or whisper. Let's see how break goes," Michelle said. Nora's smile faded a little, but she nodded. "Okay, no problem." During the first period, Michelle tried her best to concentrate, but her eyes kept drifting to Maya. Maya sat in the middle of her group, laughing loudly, showing her friends a funny video on her phone. Everyone around her leaned in as if every word she spoke was gold. Michelle wished, almost painfully, to be part of that world. When break finally came, Michelle walked beside Nora toward their usual spot, but halfway there, a voice suddenly called out, "Michelle." Michelle froze. Maya, yes, Maya herself, was smiling directly at her, waving her over like an old friend. "Come sit with us," Maya said, her voice bright and sweet. Michelle's heart jumped. She looked behind her to make sure Maya wasn't speaking to someone else, but Maya's eyes stayed locked on her. Nora stood quietly beside her. For a moment, pain flickered across Nora's face, but she quickly covered it with a small smile. "You can go," Nora whispered. If you want." Michelle didn't think twice. She walked to Maya's table, feeling like she was floating. The girls made space for her, offered her snacks, and complimented her hair. Maya leaned close and said, "I've noticed you for a while. You're actually really cool." Michelle's heart melted. She looked back once, just once, and saw Nora standing alone with the pancakes she made. But Michelle pushed away the guilt. For the first time ever, she felt like she belonged. She didn't know she was walking into a storm. Michelle could hardly sleep that night. She lay on her bed with a wide smile, replaying every moment from break time. Maya had called her cool. Maya had offered her snacks. Maya had even told her to sit with them again. Me? Cool. Michelle had never heard that word used for her before. She woke up extra early the next morning. She brushed her hair smoother than ever, polished her shoes twice, and even sprayed a little perfume she normally saved for special days. Today felt special. Today felt bright. When she arrived at school, she didn't walk toward Nora like she usually did. Instead, she walked slowly, pretending to check her phone so she wouldn't look lonely. She secretly hoped Maya would appear again. And she did. Maya walked in with her friends, Tanya, Blessing and Kara, giggling loudly as usual, but this time when she saw Michelle, she waved. "Hey, Michelle!" Maya shouted. The people around looked. Michelle felt her cheeks warm with pride. She waved back shyly, and Maya smiled like they were already close friends. Nora, who had been waiting near the classroom door with a small breakfast box in her hand, lowered her eyes. She didn't call Michelle. She didn't want to disturb her. She simply walked into the classroom quietly. Michelle noticed, but she ignored the small sting in her heart. During break time, Maya's group grabbed Michelle's hand the moment she reached the hallway. Come, sit with us," Tanya said, dragging her excitedly. They sat under the mango tree near the school gate, the spot everyone wished they could sit at. It was the popular girls' corner. Students passed by and glanced at Michelle, surprised to see her sitting there. Maya leaned toward her and whispered, "You fit in here. Don't look scared." Michelle's heart danced. She loved the attention. She loved the feeling. She loved being seen. But the girls' conversations were different from what she expected. They joked about other students, laughing at someone's hairstyle, someone's shoes, someone's accent. They gossiped about teachers. They complained about homework and bragged about skipping classes. Michelle didn't like everything they said, but she laughed along so she wouldn't look boring. At one point, Maya said, "Michelle, if we ask you something, you won't tell anyone, right?" Michelle nodded quickly. "I won't." Maya grinned. "Good. Loyalty is important. If you're rolling with us, you must be loyal." Michelle swallowed nervously but smiled anyway. Later that day, during math class, Nora quietly passed Michelle a small note that read, "I saved a seat beside me for lunch. I made fried rice. I hope you're okay." Michelle didn't respond. Instead, she hid the note inside her textbook so Maya wouldn't see it. That afternoon after school, Nora walked beside Michelle on the way out of the school compound. "Michelle," Nora said softly, "can we talk for a second?" Michelle sighed. "About what?" Nora hesitated. I feel you're changing, and I'm scared you might get hurt." Michelle frowned. "Hurt? By who?" Nora looked away. Maya doesn't always mean well. She likes attention. And sometimes she likes drama too much. Michelle's chest tightened in anger. "So now you're jealous?" she snapped. Nora's eyes widened. "Jealous? No, Michelle, I'm worried." "You think I can't choose my friends? You think I'm stupid?" Michelle raised her voice. "I never said that," Nora whispered, holding back her tears. Michelle stepped back, angry and defensive. "Look, Nora, I don't have time for this. You don't know Maya like I do." Nora nodded slowly. "Okay, maybe I don't." Michelle walked away without saying goodbye. But she didn't see the small gift Nora had made for her. A handmade bracelet, quietly fall from Nora's hand to the ground as she watched Michelle disappear. Michelle felt powerful in her new world. She didn't know she was walking deeper into trouble. Michelle's new life with the popular girls felt exciting at first, but it quickly became heavier than she expected. Maya and her friends treated her warmly, but their warmth came with conditions. Conditions that kept pulling Michelle deeper into a place she didn't fully understand. It started with small things. "Michelle, help me copy the assignment. I was busy last night," Maya would say. Or, "Tell the teacher you didn't see us leave class." Or, "Send this message in the group chat. It's funnier when you say it." Michelle did everything eagerly. She believed that loyalty was the price of belonging. She believed that if she refused, they would push her out again. And she didn't want to lose her new place. But every day she did one small wrong thing. The next day they expected something bigger. One afternoon during break, Maya whispered something that made Michelle's stomach twist. "There's a rumor going around about Esther," Maya said, smiling mischievously. "Someone said she lied about her parents' jobs." Blessing leaned in. "We should spread it a little. It's harmless." Caro laughed. "Michelle should say it." "Everyone believes a quiet girl." Michelle shook her head quickly. "No, I don't want to start anything." Maya smiled sweetly. "Relax. We're not asking you to lie. Just don't deny it if someone asks. That's all. Michelle hesitated. Maya touched her arm gently. Friends help each other, right? That one sentence melted Michelle's resistance. Friends help each other. She wanted to be their friend so badly. So when two students later whispered, "Is it true what they're saying about Esther?" Michelle didn't start the rumor, but she also didn't defend Esther. She just stayed quiet. And silence can be louder than words. The next day, Michelle noticed students staring at her. Not with admiration, but with suspicion. When she walked past Esther's desk, Esther looked up with hurt in her eyes. "Why did you say those things about me?" Esther asked quietly. Michelle's heart dropped. I didn't, it wasn't like that." But before she could explain, Maya appeared behind her and said, "Michelle didn't lie. People were already talking." Esther frowned, confused. Michelle opened her mouth, but Maya shot her a warning look, a look that said, "Stay quiet." So Michelle stayed quiet. Again, Nora saw everything. She had been watching from the back of the classroom, her face full of concern. When Esther walked away in tears, Nora approached Michelle. "I need to talk to you," Nora said softly. Michelle sighed. "Not now." Nora stepped closer. "Michelle, Maya is using you. She's making you carry her mess." Michelle snapped. "You don't know what you're talking about." "I heard them yesterday," Nora said gently. "They told other students you started the rumor." Michelle froze. "What? No, they wouldn't do that." Nora shook her head sadly. "They already did." Michelle felt the floor drop beneath her. She grabbed her bag and hurried out of the classroom before Nora could say anything else, but Nora followed her. "Michelle, I'm not trying to fight you," Nora said. "I just don't want you to get hurt." Michelle stopped walking and turned sharply. "Why do you keep acting like my mother? Why do you think you know what's best for me?" "Because I care," Nora whispered. Michelle looked away. "I can take care of myself." Her voice was cold, sharper than she intended. Nora's eyes shined with unshed tears. "I know you can, but you don't have to do it alone." Something inside Michelle cracked, but pride sealed it back. "Nora, please," Michelle said, her voice shaking with irritation. "Just stop interfering. You're making everything worse." Nora nodded slowly, as if her heart had just dropped into pieces. "Okay," she whispered, "if that's what you want." Michelle turned and walked away. She didn't see Nora wipe her tears. She didn't see Maya and her friends standing at a distance, secretly grinning. And she didn't know that this was just the beginning of the trouble. Days passed, and Michelle found herself sinking deeper into Maya's circle. At first, she felt special, chosen, important. But slowly she began to feel something else, uncomfortable. Maya and her friends always wanted a new joke, new drama, or new excitement, and Michelle often found herself in the middle of it, even when she did nothing wrong. One Wednesday afternoon, the class buzzed with excitement. The school had announced a big program coming up, a talent showcase and awards day. Students whispered everywhere, discussing what they would perform, what they would wear, and who would likely win. Maya's group loved it. Events like this were their playground. "Girls," Maya said dramatically during break time, "we need something unforgettable for that day, something everyone will talk about." "Like what?" Caro asked. Blessing shrugged. "We can prank someone," Tanya smirked. "Or we can embarrass a teacher." Then all of them turned to Michelle. She didn't like the way they were looking at her. Maya smiled sweetly. "Michelle, we need your help. You're the only one people actually trust." Michelle felt her stomach tighten. "What do you want me to do?" "Nothing bad," Maya said, her voice sugary. "We just need a little story. Something personal, something real, something that will make our performance emotional." Michelle frowned. "A story? About what?" Maya leaned closer. "About you." Michelle stepped back. "Me? Why?" "Relax," Maya said, rolling her eyes. "You act like we're trying to harm you. We just want to make our group presentation stronger. You can tell us something small, something about your childhood, your fears, your life, anything. Blessing nodded. Something only close friends know. Michelle swallowed hard. She didn't like where this was going. Why can't one of you share something? Michelle asked. Caro laughed. Because we don't want everyone pitying us. You're the emotional one. The girls chuckled. Michelle felt embarrassed, but she tried to hide it. She didn't want to lose her place in the group. So she forced a smile. I don't know what to say. Maya touched her arm. It's okay. We're best friends now. You can trust us. Best friends? The words hit Michelle's heart. She had wanted to hear those words her whole life. So she opened up, slowly, carefully, painfully. She told them about her fear of standing in front of people. She told them how she sometimes felt invisible. She told them how her father lost his job last year and how things had been rough at home. She told them she often felt like she wasn't good enough. Her voice shook as she spoke, but Maya and her friends smiled the whole time. Not kindly, not softly, not with care, with excitement, like they had found treasure. Wow, Maya said when Michelle finished. This is perfect. Perfect? Michelle didn't understand, but the girls clapped and hugged her. We'll use this well, Maya said. Our performance will be amazing. The moment the bell rang, Michelle left them to return to class, only to find Nora waiting by her desk. Nora had a small paper bag in her hand. Michelle, I made something for you. Michelle sighed. Not now, Nora. Nora ignored the cold tone and opened the bag. Inside was a simple but beautiful bracelet woven from tiny beads in Michelle's favourite colours. I know things have been strange between us, Nora said quietly, but I still care about you. I know you're stressed, and I want you to know I'm here. Michelle stared at the bracelet but said nothing. Nora lowered her eyes. Please be careful around Maya. That sentence made Michelle stiffen. You're doing it again, Michelle snapped, always acting like Maya is the problem. Nora's voice trembled. Michelle, I heard something. I think Maya is planning. I'm tired of your warnings, Michelle shouted. The class grew silent. Nora stood there quietly, breath shaking, eyes full of hurt. Michelle grabbed her bag and stormed away. Behind her, Nora whispered, I just don't want to lose you. Michelle didn't hear it, but Maya, who had entered the classroom unnoticed, heard everything. She smiled to herself. Perfect, Maya whispered. Everything is going exactly as planned. She already knew how she would use Michelle's secrets on the day of the event, and she couldn't wait. The day of the school event arrived faster than Michelle expected. The entire compound buzzed with excitement. Students carried costumes, props, microphones, and colourful posters. Teachers moved up and down the hall, trying to organise the noisy crowd. Michelle stood near the assembly hall, feeling nervous but proud. She had practiced her lines for Maya's group performance. She believed it would be beautiful, something emotional and inspiring. She believed Maya would keep her secret safe. She believed they were truly friends now. Michelle didn't notice Nora watching her from a distance, worry written all over her face. Nora wanted to speak to her again, warn her again, but after the way Michelle shouted at her, she was scared of making things worse. Group 4, get ready, a teacher shouted. That was Maya's group. Maya strutted forward confidently with Blessing, Tanya, Caro, and Michelle. The audience clapped as the girls stepped onto the stage. The spotlight shone brightly on them. Michelle's heart raced. We will do great, she told herself. They are my friends. They won't hurt me. The performance started well. Maya led with her usual charm. Caro danced. Blessing spoke confidently. Tanya made the crowd laugh. Then it was Michelle's turn. But before she could step forward, Maya raised her hand. Everyone, we have something special today, Maya said, smiling sweetly. Michelle froze. This next part, Maya continued, is a real-life story. A story from someone very close to us. Michelle blinked. A cold feeling crept up her spine. Maya opened her phone and connected it to the speakers. Michelle whispered, Maya, what are you doing? But Maya didn't look at her. Suddenly, Michelle heard her own voice echo through the hall. A voice note, her voice, her private confession, her fears, Her struggles, her family problems, her tears. Every word she told them in secret played loudly for the whole school to hear. The hall went silent at first, shocked. Then came the whispers, then the laughter. Students covered their mouths. Some recorded it on their phones. Some pointed at her. Some shook their heads in disbelief. Michelle stood there, frozen. Her chest tightened. Her legs shook. Her hands trembled. "Maya," she whispered weakly. "Stop it. Please." But Maya only smiled sweetly and said into the microphone, "We wanted everyone to hear this touching story. So emotional, right?" Laughter exploded in the hall. Michelle felt her world break apart. She stared at the girls she called friends. But they were all laughing. Caro giggled into her palm. Blessing pressed her lips together, trying not to laugh out loud. Tanya whispered something and pointed at Michelle. And Maya stood proudly, like she had done something clever. This wasn't a performance. It was a betrayal, a trap, a setup. Michelle's eyes filled with tears as the recording continued, playing the part where she said she felt invisible and not good enough. Someone in the audience shouted, "Oh, so sad." Another laughed, "Michelle, the emotional queen." Students laughed so hard that some bent forward. Michelle squeezed her eyes shut, wishing the ground would open and swallow her. Suddenly, someone rushed toward the stage. Nora. Nora grabbed Maya's phone and unplugged the cable with shaking hands. "Enough!" Nora shouted, her voice louder than anyone had ever heard from her. The hall fell silent for a moment. Maya blinked in surprise. "What is your problem?" "You are wicked," Nora cried. "How could you do this to her? She trusted you," students murmured. Some looked guilty. Some looked shocked. Michelle couldn't stand anymore. She ran off the stage, tears pouring down her face, her heart breaking with every step. She didn't stop until she reached the back of the school building, where no one could see her. She collapsed on the ground, hugging herself tightly, sobbing uncontrollably. Her chest hurt. Her throat burned. Her whole body shook. How could they do this? Why did she trust them? Why didn't she listen to Nora? Footsteps approached slowly. Michelle looked up with red, swollen eyes. It was Nora. Nora knelt beside her without saying a word, placed a hand on Michelle's back and held her gently as Michelle cried. No judgment, no anger, no questions, just quiet comfort. For the first time, Michelle realized the painful truth. She had chased fake love and rejected real loyalty. And the person she pushed away was the only one who came to wipe her tears. Michelle cried until her whole body felt weak. Her face was wet, her nose stuffy, and her hands shook with every breath she took. She felt broken, humiliated, and ashamed. Everything she feared people would see about her had been exposed, loudly, publicly, cruelly. Nora didn't rush her. She didn't say stop crying or calm down. She simply stayed beside her, holding her hand gently, letting Michelle lean on her shoulder. Her presence was soft and warm, the kind of comfort Michelle didn't know she needed until now. When Michelle could finally speak, her voice came out in a whisper. They used me," she said, staring at the ground. Nora nodded softly. "I know." "They laughed at me," Michelle said, her voice cracking. "In front of everyone." Nora squeezed her hand. "I'm so sorry." Michelle wiped her face with her sleeve. "This is all my fault. You warned me, and I didn't listen. I pushed you away. I treated you badly." Nora shook her head gently. "Michelle, pain makes people blind sometimes. I'm not angry. I wish you hadn't gone through this." Michelle looked at Nora, really looked at her, and for the first time, she saw what she had been ignoring for months. A loyal friend who loved quietly, without showing off. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The wind moved softly through the trees, and distant laughter echoed from the school hall, the same place where Michelle had just been humiliated. She closed her eyes, feeling the tears returning. I can't go back there, she whispered. Everyone will laugh. Even the teachers heard everything. How am I supposed to face them? Nora adjusted her position and sat closer. You don't have to face them today, but you won't hide forever, not because of them. Michelle shook her head. You don't understand. I do, Nora said quietly. Not in the same way, but I understand what it feels like to be laughed at, to be talked about, to be treated like you don't matter. Michelle looked at her, surprised. People laugh at you. Nora smiled sadly. Sometimes they think I'm boring, or too quiet, or too plain. But I learned one thing, Michelle. People only laugh at what they don't understand. Michelle let the words sink in. Nora continued. What happened today doesn't define you. Maya doesn't define you. That recording doesn't define you. It was a moment, a horrible one, but it won't last forever. Michelle sniffed and wiped her eyes. But Maya made everyone hear the worst parts of me. That's not the worst part of you, Nora said firmly. That's the honest part of you, the brave part. You shared your story because you trusted them, and they betrayed you. That's their shame, not yours. Michelle's throat tightened. Why are you being so kind to me, after everything I said to you? Nora took a deep breath. Because you're my friend, Michelle. Even when you forget it. Michelle covered her face again, this time crying quietly, not from pain, but from relief, from finally seeing the truth. I'm sorry, she whispered, for everything. Nora hugged her gently. It's okay. They stayed like that for a long time. Two girls sitting behind the school, one broken, one holding her together. When the bell rang for dismissal, Michelle stood slowly. Her legs felt weak, but Nora held her hand to steady her. Can you walk? Nora asked. I think so, Michelle whispered. They walked out of the school together, not hiding, not running, just moving slowly, side by side. Students stared. Some whispered. A few pointed. But Michelle didn't look at them. For the first time, she didn't feel alone. Nora was beside her, the friend she needed, the friend she ignored, the friend who stayed. As they reached the school gate, Michelle looked at Nora and said softly, I should have known. Nora smiled. Now you do. Michelle nodded, her heart still hurting but beginning, slowly, to heal. And as they walked toward the road together, Michelle realized something powerful. Fake friends shine only in public. Real friends stand beside you in the dark. And she was finally holding the hand of the one who truly cared. The next morning, Michelle woke up with swollen eyes. She didn't want to get out of bed. She didn't want to dress up, step outside, or face a single person from school. The memory of yesterday felt like a heavy stone sitting on her chest. But she knew she couldn't hide forever. Nora arrived at her house early. She knocked softly and waited. When Michelle stepped out, Nora gave her a small, reassuring smile. Ready? Nora asked. Michelle shook her head. Not really. I know, Nora said, but you won't be alone. Those words gave Michelle the strength to walk. As they entered the school compound, whispers immediately filled the air. Students turned, stared, nudged each other, and whispered behind their hands. Some had pity in their eyes. Others looked amused. And a few simply wanted to see what she would do next. Michelle kept her eyes on the ground, her heart pounding. Nora held her hand. They entered the classroom slowly. Some students pretended to be busy, others looked openly at her. But the moment Maya saw Michelle enter, she jumped from her seat with exaggerated excitement. Michelle, Maya said, smiling like nothing had happened. Come sit with us today. Some students raised their eyebrows, others exchanged confused glances. Michelle felt her anger rise, deep, sharp, and painful. Nora gave her a small nod, encouraging her to speak if she wanted to. Michelle took a slow breath, then she stepped forward. The whole class turned to watch. She faced Maya directly. Why did you do it? Michelle asked quietly. Maya blinked innocently. Do what? My voice, Michelle said louder this time. My secret, my story. Why did you play it in front of the school? Caro giggled. Tanya whispered something to Blessing. Maya folded her arms. Oh, please, Maya said loudly. Don't be dramatic. It was just a joke. Everyone laughed. It wasn't that deep. A few students murmured in agreement, but most of them fell silent. Michelle felt her heart pounding again, but this time, it wasn't from fear. It was from strength building inside her. No, Michelle said firmly. It wasn't a joke. You betrayed me. Maya flipped her hair. You're overreacting. Michelle shook her head. You asked me to trust you. You asked me to share something personal, and then you used it to embarrass me. The class went quiet. Michelle's voice grew stronger. A real friend doesn't destroy you to make people laugh. Maya's smile faded a little. Michelle, we were just having fun. And you enjoyed it, Michelle cut in. You laughed the loudest. You didn't care how I felt. You only cared about attention. Some students nodded subtly. Yesterday's event was still fresh in their minds. Michelle continued, her voice trembling but steady. I wanted to be part of your group so badly that I ignored everything. I ignored how you treated people. I ignored all the warnings. I even ignored the one person who cared about me. Michelle turned and looked at Nora, who stood quietly behind her. And that was my biggest mistake, Michelle said. A few students exchanged surprised looks. Some even smiled softly. Nora lowered her eyes, embarrassed but proud. Maya's face hardened. So what now? You think you can turn people against me? Michelle shook her head. I don't need to turn anyone. They saw what you did. A teacher entered the room at the moment, Mrs. Adeyemi. She looked at Maya and then at Michelle. I heard what happened yesterday, the teacher said. Maya, we will be speaking with the principal about this. Bullying is not entertainment. Maya's mouth fell open. Bullying! She's lying. We were just joking. But the teacher had already walked out. Maya turned back to the class, expecting support, but her friends looked nervous. Blessing pretended to arrange her desk. Caro looked away. Tanya bit her lip. They didn't defend her. For the first time, Maya stood alone. Michelle felt a strange calm settle over her. She wasn't happy. She wasn't celebrating. She was just free. She turned to Nora. Thank you for standing up for me, for staying. Nora smiled softly. I'll always stay. They walked together to their seats side by side, while the rest of the class stared. Not with mockery this time, but with something new. Respect. Michelle had faced the people who broke her. She had spoken the truth, and she had finally found the friend who truly mattered. A few weeks passed and everything in school slowly began to settle. The laughter, the whispers, the pointing fingers, they all died down as new events and new stories replaced the drama. But Michelle's life didn't simply return to normal. It grew into something better. For the first time in a long time, Michelle walked into school without fear, without pretending, without trying to impress anyone. She walked with confidence, with honesty, and most importantly, with Nora beside her. People no longer whispered about Michelle. Instead, many greeted her kindly. Some apologized quietly for laughing that day. A few even came to her for advice or help with assignments. They had seen her strength. They had seen her speak up. And they respected her for it. But the biggest change wasn't the school's reaction. It was Michelle herself. She sat with Nora every break time now, not because she had no choice, but because she wanted to. They talked about everything, their dreams, their fears, their families, their silly thoughts. Michelle learned that Nora loved painting, that she wrote poems in her notebook, and that she dreamed of becoming a teacher one day. Michelle realized how much she had missed before. The kindness, the loyalty, the warmth that Nora carried like a soft light. One day, as they sat under a tree eating snacks, Michelle sighed happily. You know, Michelle said, I used to think being popular meant being happy. Nora smiled. Does it still feel that way? Michelle shook her head. No. Happiness was sitting right beside me all along, and I didn't see it. Nora blushed gently and looked down. Well, I'm glad you see it now. They laughed together, and for the first time, Michelle felt genuine peace. Maya's life had changed too, but not for the better. People still liked her, but they no longer trusted her. Students remembered the way she had embarrassed Michelle. Teachers watched her more closely, and even her closest friends were more careful around her, speaking less, whispering behind her back, avoiding trouble. Maya still walked through the school with her head high, but something was different. The shine was gone. The attention she used to love now felt uncomfortable. One afternoon, Maya approached Michelle in the hallway. Michelle paused. Nora stood beside her. Maya swallowed. Michelle, can we talk? Alone? Michelle shook her head calmly. Anything you want to say, you can say it here. Maya hesitated. I didn't think it would go that far. The voice note wasn't supposed to hurt. It wasn't your secret to share, Michelle said softly. You crossed a line. Maya's eyes flickered with frustration. So you hate me now? Michelle shook her head again. No, but I don't trust you anymore, and trust is everything. For once, Maya had no answer. She turned and walked away without her usual confidence. Nora looked at Michelle proudly. You handled that well, Michelle breathed out. I'm tired of holding anger. I just want to move forward. A few days before the term closed, the school announced winners for academic excellence and leadership. To everyone's surprise, including Michelle's, she received a certificate for courage and integrity. As Michelle walked on stage to receive the award, the hall clapped loudly. The applause felt different from before, not because she was popular, but because people respected her. She looked down at Nora, who sat in the front row, clapping with a smile brighter than the sun. After the event, Michelle ran to her and hugged her tightly. This is yours too, Michelle whispered. I wouldn't have survived without you. Nora hugged her back. You stood up on your own. I just stood beside you. Michelle pulled away and looked into her friend's gentle eyes. If only I knew earlier who my real best friend was. I would have saved myself from so much pain. Nora squeezed her hand. What matters is you know now. Michelle smiled, a real, honest smile that reached her heart. As they walked out of the school compound together side by side, the evening sun painted their shadows long and warm on the ground. Michelle realized something powerful. Popularity fades. Fake friends disappear. But true friendship remains, quiet, patient, and strong. And she would never take Nora for granted again.